The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
In the front row, kicking back old school tracks like damn.
Except his deep voice comes on, and then it's like, except mine's pretty deep right now too. I kind of sound a little manly
because of your
my inner ear and my
ear slug.
Ugh, it's so gross.
ear slug.
He looked in my ear yesterday. He goes, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Oh, don't do that." You sound feel like an alien.
A what?
An
alien.
You know,
Alien?
An alien. Yeah.
What the hell was that?
An alien.
I've never. Okay.
Nanu.
Okay, I got you now. Yeah, you are Mork from Ork.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, wow.
That was a terrible show, by the way.
It was a bad show. Yes, it was. But
Mork
he
and
had a much better career after that. God
Yeah,
rest
he
his
did.
soul. So
Yeah.
nice to see y'all.
Nice.
Cheers,
see
man.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Starting off strong.
I have to pace myself because I have to go to the John Wood wine pull tonight. As you can see,
Yeah.
I'm pacing myself. With
I see that with the big
mug.
dog.
The big mug.
Yeah.
So, before we have our guest on this week, it's a couple of things. He's a good one. Yeah, it's going to be a great chat. But another thing to talk about is I think the ever changing world of our riverfront situation.
The saga.
I mean, man, you go
Just
and
keeps
ask
getting-
you go ask for $100,000 one week, and then the next week you're going to go ask for another $250,000 on top of that.
Yeah.
After they already told you no for the 100.
I'm glad I'm not on that committee.
I'm glad. I
I
love
love
my time on the park board. I'm glad it's over.
I love what everybody's
So-
doing in this town. I also love the fact that I can just sit back and bitch about it.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm like,
Look, I've said all along, I want some sort of riverfront development. I do want something down there. You know, when that big ship went by and stopped in Hannibal and they had 12,000 people show up and it just drove past us, it'd be nice to get that.
Yeah.
But to the tune of a gazillion, billion, jillion dollars.
Also, once we get that and they dock, what are they doing there,
They're going
Bob?
to sprint up the hill.
Are they?
They're going to jock
no,
up
we're
that
gonna
hill.
have an MRN golf cart or trolley
Okay.
that we're gonna, truck people.
I call
up.
that hill Booty Hill
That's a good name for
Why?
it.
because so I walk it a lot with my dog, and now my dog has learned that we walk it backwards. At least I'm walking backwards.
Yeah.
She's walking forward. At first, she was looking at me like, "What are you doing?"
It's
But
like, okay, crazy lady.
yeah, I don't know. And so if you see me walking backwards up that hill,
She's getting her booty.
I'm getting my booty on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I love it. But as the hill, that is one thing. Another thing is, of course, you got to have money to make money, or there's another school of thought, you have to spend money to make money, right? So where do you put the cart before the horse? How does that work? And I mean, we've brought up the sports complex before, which I think is a really, really cool idea. I know that it's like beating a dead horse, but it definitely would bring in revenue, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know how the Riverfront Committee could tap that, the planning committee, if they even could. But I think like the buried power lines, as we talked about on Coffee Talk, yes, it would be gorgeous. Is it the first step? Is it necessary? Is it the smartest thing to do? I don't have those answers.
But that's more of an aesthetics thing. I mean, I think the amphitheater thing, I always thought from the beginning should have been the first piece, and then to try to build around that. Because if you have that amphitheater, then you have something. Hey, you can have bigger acts in. Scott Edlin jammed how many people in that little lot up
Good for
there
him, man.
for Tracy Lawrence? Do it down here, and that way you've got. And again, but where do you put it? Do you put it there where you got the water plant, or do you put it where you've got this big field over by Lincoln Park? Now, of course, that would really benefit the dock because it's right there. Or
Yeah.
the other one would benefit Chicks or whatever else goes into the native building, which Backwaters was its original use there. So you look at that and what's going to benefit. And again, I've always thought there should be boats, a harbor,
hose.
a dock.
Okay.
No hose, just boats.
Well, yeah,
boats
They kind of
along the
package
riverfront, along Clyde Adams Park. Have boats there, have the docks there. Get the marina out of the mosquito-infested area it's in, and bring it out so people can see the boats. Look at Alton, look at Hannibal, look at all these other towns.
And then look at where
And
we
I
went
think
to
those
take
are-
pictures, where it's all like,
Yeah.
Big bush.
The bush,
The
yeah.
bush.
We took
Yeah.
we took some
In the
promotional
bush.
pictures at the
Yeah.
the Harrison Street
Hampshire.
Hampshire
The
Street
Hampshire
boat
dock.
ramp is just a little overgrown these days.
Nope.
So ain't no John boats and fishing boats going in there right now.
She
So
needs some nair.
yes,
she
she does.
But I think that again, those are I think those seem more practical steps and a good way to sort of get the ball rolling. And again, I know when they talk about them spending, that money, it's over a 20-year process, and I get that. And I know part of that includes the trails, which the Park District has made the decision to go and do the trails to the south along Bonansinga and, to link up all this. And that also goes in the overall cost of the Riverfront plan.
Yeah.
So I think all of that is positive, and I'm for all of that. A lot of the other stuff they talk about with the skyways and the dock that goes out in the middle and all that stuff, that's all, it seems a little tougher. And, but again, I think, but as you said earlier, the sports complex, if the Park District is going to go through with taking over Paul Dennis, they already have those other fields.
Yeah.
That's a great starting point right there.
Yeah.
And you can do both.
They're not mutually.
They are
they're
not mutually exclusive.
and I
People
do
make this as
understand
an either-or process,
Sure.
but those are the people that either hate the riverfront or, for whatever reason,
I was just saying
don't want the
for-
Isn't
sports
there
complex
only
to
so
happen.
much money, though, in a budget? I'm not trying to.
There is, but you can schedule them and plan them out, and you can still. And if you were to do fundraising, and if people were to get involved, and there were to be some big, I would say. I could see that sports complex having a couple of really big donors who would step up and say,
yeah.
let's make this thing happen.
Yeah. And then
So,
you have revenue
yeah.
to then, put towards all these really cool projects, which, let's be real, they are really cool projects.
Yeah.
But to have to be that committee and go up and say, okay, we need this amount of money. And then the next week, oh, well, we need this
And
amount
where
of money.
is this money coming
and,
from?
And how is it going to be spent 100% with certainty, like a kind of a business plan, which we were talking earlier, the Riverfront master plan is beautiful, amazing, and very well done as far as steps on how to get there, and little kind of mini business plans maybe could be honed in a little bit before you go to ask for the money. I don't know. Again, that's why I sit here and just kind of talk out my ass. But
No,
Well,
it's-
I think it was a master plan to
Yeah.
begin with, and it was accepted. I think at one point in time, this was voted on is a plan, and it was a step-by-step plan. So now that this first step isn't working out, we're thinking about maybe switching to Plan B. I'm for Plan B just because, again, the revenue aspect. But my thing is, can you do that? Can you just switch a plan?
Sometimes you
that-
got to call an audible.
Contingency.
Yeah. Sometimes something happens and you can't do what you wanted to do. That happens in government all the time. It's
and
just
in the Conrad household,
and in my house,
this is every
and in
day, yeah.
Muddy River News
Every
and
day,
everything.
yeah.
You have to be flexible and be able to say, okay, let's do this instead of that. Let's plan A instead of B. When you're inflexible and you stand there and you're like, if we can't do it this way, then we're not going to do it at all. Well, okay, but that doesn't get anybody anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want this to happen, be flexible. Make it so, okay, we can try this or try that. Move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the safest
I mean,
way to
either
go.
way, I give everybody who is trying to create that vortex of, the Riverfront plan, the sports complex, the turf fields, the people who are on these committees, I give full kudos to, because I know it's a lot of work.
And
It's a
it's
lot
not
of
easy
it's a lot
getting
of
in front of
hassle.
those
It's a lot of
people.
thankless stuff, and
Yeah.
then you get the MRN crew up here bitching about everything.
But it's
So then
all
it's
good,
like-
all stuff that would
Yeah.
be good to
Right,
have.
right, right.
I really think, again, I want us to have a riverfront that is actually accessible from the river.
Yeah.
I want that.
It's beautiful.
Just how do we go about it, and go about it in a way that's not going to break the bank, even though I'm sure there's no cheap way to do anything anymore.
No.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking out of both sides, but okay.
We definitely are.
I'm not.
I am.
I'm
I
consistent.
want this, but I can't afford it.
I'm
That's-
consistent.
Hey, the
There's
iPhone.
just-
We were just talking about that. Yeah, you want.
Sorry,
Get your phone. Get your phone. You don't have your phone yet.
No, it's
Get your old
it's
broken
still
phone
it's
still.
still a 13 cracked because
See?
I am
So-
fiscally conservatively responsible.
Yeah, and
Let's
I
talk
have
about
a
those plants
10.
you bought for the office, about you being fiscally conservative responsible.
They were out of my own money.
I know, but why did you? But still.
Oh
They
boy,
were calling my name.
what is it?
Plants in her
our
office.
You
No,
know
not these
what?
plants. Those plants in her office.
Plants
Oh.
are helping us
Oh,
breathe.
the fake
not
ones?
those
Fake
though.
ones.
Not
The fake
those.
ones that she ordered.
That's just for the aesthetic.
When she
and
was late night
you
shopping.
know what? It really spruces up the
It
joint.
does look good. It's looking much better. We have our picture up
It
now.
looks so
Thanks to
great.
Harvey's
And-
for the painting.
And
Yeah.
I could afford my fake plants.
Yes,
Thank
you can. Yes, you can. But I'm just saying, we can do this. It can be
Sometimes-
done in a responsible fiscal manner. We could do the riverfront, and it doesn't. And you can do it in a way where, okay, it's going to take some time. Might not be done in my
Keyword,
lifetime.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing that we're not focusing on. We're pushing this through in a really bad time, too. This is
Oh.
the worst.
Because they're like, if we don't do it now, then
Not just the
prices are gonna increase.
You're
the
talking
bid.
about with inflation and
Yeah,
everything. And
I
all
mean,
that.
well, in
Yeah,
contracts
stuff's
and
expensive.
stuff.
Yes.
Ameren alone, like my bill
People
has shot
can't
through the roof. So
afford their groceries. Like our house, we have a housing issue where people can't afford houses.
yeah,
I don't know.
I can barely afford eggs. Let's be real.
I can afford
Them
eggs.
sons of bitches are expensive though.
Well, at some
and fake
point,
plants.
but at some point, I think maybe not in my lifetime. You guys are a little younger than me. Maybe in your lifetime. Certainly in our kids' lifetime, I think we'll have something there. We will
think
have
so,
that
too.
there. We'll have the big Kyle Moore statue on the
Yes.
riverfront. How about that segue,
Look
huh?
at that.
Look at that. Huh?
I think Bob just won Segway of the week.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Nice work.
Thank you very much. So speaking of who I just talked about, we'll have him on here in just a minute.
Yeah.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
You know, I did it.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, too,
I did
but
it.
I am
I did it
gone.
the first year, so nobody knew what was going on, and I got a perfect score. But Tyler Thomason and his, they were better than me.
got presence,
yeah,
man.
they were
You
better.
just
Because his
Yeah.
sister's like a teacher.
Yeah, they had a whole
Yeah.
skit,
Secret
and we
lessons
did
and-
jazz. Like it was not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just brought up the other day that I took dance at Kathy Burnett's the same time you did.
I know.
You were quite the rock star.
Yeah. Well, it
I
helps
mean, and
being-
you were like the only guy in
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it helps.
Are we rolling? This is great.
yeah, we're
This is
rolling.
Gold.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're rolling.
Gold, Jerry helps.
Gold.
Yeah.
It helps, to be the only guy. That's how to get the. in
But
the
I
front of the
remember
class.
you had like a top hat or something, and it
Yeah.
was jazz or tap, and you were like, I mean, you were the man. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it
was so awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
I bet.
I loved it.
Your sister took too, Amanda.
Yeah. She took it, and yeah.
Yeah.
I had 3 sisters growing up, so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had no male influence in my life other
Okay.
than my dad, and he's not very handy. So
Great guy. though.
Dad's a good guy.
he's a great
Great
guy,
guy.
but he wasn't going to teach me sports. I'll just put it that way.
He's a good guy.
No.
Where did you get your love of the Dodgers anyway?
It's from my mom, actually. So my mom, her dad came over and lived in Pennsylvania, and I believe they were Brooklyn Dodgers fans. And so the Rokita family in town, if people remember back in the day, the Park Bowl owned that. And I believe pretty much everyone but my Uncle Mo was a Dodger fan, or is a Dodger fan.
We're talking to Kyle Moore, by the way,
Yeah.
the president and CEO of Greta.
What's up, Kyle?
Hey, good to have you.
Yes.
Just a quick off the road from Collinsville.
Yes.
Spreading the gospel of the tri-state area. First
Yes.
off, congratulations on the, working on the United Alloy deal. That seems like a pretty good deal for the city.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. They're a good group to work with. They had started to look at Quincy, I believe, last year, and we were able to find them a temporary facility. So it's 25,000 square feet. They had their eyes on a lot more, but there's just not a lot of 100, 200,000 square feet buildings in Quincy or
Yep.
Adams County. And I think, too, they wanted to test the market to see how well they would be welcomed. And, they really liked it. And we were fortunate. The Weisenborn family reached out to Greta and let us know that they would be having this auction. And I believe one or 2 parcels was already zoned for industrial use and in the enterprise zone. And so, we let the United Alloy know, and they ended up winning the bid, and the rest is history.
It's going to sound really stupid.
Yeah.
What is this deal? What are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
so
I don't
you
know.
missed the big news on Muddy River News.
She never
Listen,
reads the website.
I've been down and out,
She's
so
worse than
I do
Ellen.
read.
Worse than Ellen. She never reads the website.
I do sometimes, but when I see things like United Alloy and parcels and things, I'm like,
So United Alloy announced yesterday that they're going to be building a new 200,000 square foot state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Quincy on Ellington Road. And it's going to, they already have, I don't know what they're up to now, but they're going to be adding additional 100 jobs in the
Sweet.
community. So they've had a good success here in Quincy, and I think they've been looking. I mean, we're not the only town they've looked at for sites. So putting my economic development hat on, I think it really speaks a lot to us when people look at our community and say, you know what, there's a community that I want to be in and invest millions of dollars. 200,000 square feet is not a cheap building to instruct.
When you looking at this, though, the one thing is, I mean, when you have a business like that in town, and we already have a company or two that does that sort of thing, sometimes there's some tough conversations with some people to say, hey,
sure,
but we're
you're
trying to
upsetting
grow
me.
the community, and we're trying to do this. This goes back to the old. I'm sure you're aware of the old Quincy legends about. We never got a Caterpillar plant because certain people didn't want it or whatever. This is something along those lines.
I've always heard of smoke-filled rooms and families taking people aside, and I've told people I didn't graduate high school here and became mayor in economic development, and I've never been in a
smoke-filled room.
No, I've been in a smoke-filled room, but not if anybody of power. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, so and I will say too, the one thing that we talk about at Grediff is that we are not actively recruiting manufacturers here. So they're taking a look at us, whether it be Trimark or whether it be United Alloy, and then we are connectors, and so we connect people who are looking to invest with opportunities. And so a lot of times people with land or buildings will say, hey, if you can find somebody for my space, let me know. And those are the introductions that we make. And that's what we did here with the Weisenborn family. Just gave us a call, had a 15, 20-minute conversation. They probably didn't even know that we haven't talked to them since. But those are just kind of the things we do. So that way when people call our office and they say, hey, what do you guys have open? In fact, I was on the call today with a national food franchise who's coming to town in a few weeks and wanting to be connected. And, of course, we'll connect them with the Marxes. We'll connect them to Cullinans. We'll connect them to, Trevor Beck.
Say the name.
Yeah.
Say the name. Which franchise?
I cannot say it. Yeah.
Is this the Canes thing?
Yes.
No.
No, it's another one. That's not here. No.
All right.
But anyway,
Good.
but those are the conversations that we have every day.
Okay, so quick question, and this is going to maybe seem, it's not a low blow, so I don't want you to think that, but
No.
are we offering incentives to bring these people here, kind of like we did Target?
So first and foremost, you mean on the manufacturing side or the retail side? So the manufacturing side, we already have established programs, whether it be the Quincy Economic Development Loan Fund, or we have the Enterprise Zone. So those are ones that they could tap into.
Gotcha.
So they're not getting new incentives if they tap into it.
Okay. Gotcha. I was just curious.
Yes.
This is the first I've heard about it.
Hey,
so I'm
no
like,
problem.
I'm just going to throw some questions out there.
No problem.
I
And
got
Enterprise Zone,
more fun ones
Enterprise
too,
Zone
so.
is a 10-year tax abatement, so it freezes their property taxes and gives them they do not pay sales tax on their construction material. But that's offered to anybody in that zone.
Ooh. Good
Yeah.
to know.
It's a lot of paperwork, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the unfun question.
Oh, let's go for
That's
it.
fun.
Yeah.
But should we cheers first? I
Cheers.
don't think we
Yeah, thanks for having me
Cheers.
on. I
Cheers,
appreciate
cheers,
it.
cheers,
Cheers. Cheers.
Are you running for state rep?
Not at this time.
Oh, that's the worst
Oh,
answer
that's the worst answer
You
I've
can't
ever
say
heard.
that.
I told them ahead of time. It's like, it would have been real easy for me to cancel this interview, but
We're glad you didn't.
No, I wouldn't do that.
That's your only comment is not at this time.
That's my only comment.
That's a great political answer. I love it.
You always said that it was that. I mean, politics has always been something that's been your goal, and it's always something you wanted to do. And when you got the Grediff job, you and I had some conversations that I won't get into here.
Yeah.
But we did have some conversations, and again, I never thought Grediff was going to be your last job. I mean, you're not an old guy, and I always figured you would do something. I figured maybe it would be the Washington level or whatever, but sometimes you go to Springfield before you go to Washington and things like that. So if it's not at this time, is there a point where you might be sending us a little news release here in the not too distant future?
If somebody's going to do something like that, I'm sure you guys would know.
Would we be the first?
We'll figure it out. But let's not forget we
Breaking
got the
news on Club
Sunshine
Money.
Foil hero.
Yes.
That's
You got
right.
the Sunshine
We got our
Award winner.
Sunshine Hero.
That's right.
So-
I just thought it looked a little brighter in here
It
when I
is.
walked in.
We all need shades.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
I'm done with the grilling. You
Really?
got the fun.
Okay, so
Give us an answer.
I gave Kyle this list
fair.
of questions because they're so off the wall, but being that it's Club Muddy, we don't want to have it all be.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be
Super
all. I didn't want it to be all
biz?
serious.
Did you really think I wasn't going to
No,
ask
other
you?
than I did want people to know, because I did talk about this walking up, the river cruise companies
Yeah.
bring their own transportation. So when everybody says, how are they going to get up the hill?
Mm-hmm.
So it was American Queen Steamboat Company that we looked at, and they had 2 buses that travel with them every stop.
Yeah.
So
So
just
you
to
don't
get
have
that
to
out of the
do-
way, then we can have
Yes.
fun. But
you don't
just so
have
you
to
know.
do the booty walk up the hill backwards
Yeah.
if you come in, as Brittany does, right? I mean, I think
But
that's great to know.
You're not a dumb guy. You knew I was going to ask you
He's-
About the cruise line?
about the state rep
I
thing.
know.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on
Yeah.
now.
So,
He
okay.
answered, asked and answered. We can
Okay,
move on. I'm
so-
fine. I'll wait for my news release.
All right. So of course you were the mayor.
Yes.
And thank you for your service. I can't believe that I can't imagine that would be an easy. I'm sure you had some fun, and we'll get to that in a second. But it's a rough gig, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's a really fun job, but it definitely comes with some stresses, and you have to be willing to take a lot of punches,
Yeah.
and you have to be willing to, if you are going to be the type that reads the internet, you need to be able to take all incoming.
Yeah,
And-
because it's all over.
And I've said this a zillion times: protect your family.
Yeah.
It's often, it's my mom that would call me up. It's like, do you know what this person said about you? And and you have to be,
No.
and you have to know that there are people that are going to say incredibly rude things, and then they see you in public.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be really nice to you.
Yeah.
And you just know it, and you just be nice.
You gotta roll with it.
But it doesn't seem like so long ago. I remember, we've been friends for a while,
Yeah.
and when I ran for city council and then mayor, and I was 27 when I ran for council, and 31 for mayor, and it seems like a lifetime ago.
Just a
and
pup.
yeah, now I look back and it was a lot of fun and very rewarding.
Definitely
Yeah.
an experience.
Yeah,
So,
it was great.
one other thing, like any fun, quirky stories from that.
Yeah,
time?
so I got 2, if depending on time. But
Yeah, go
so
for
the first one, I went on a ride along with Officer Jeff Baird, and so I did ride along over the weekend, and then on the weekday. Over the weekend, it was funny because they almost apologized that there was no action in
No
town,
crime.
and I'm like, if you got the mayor riding along with you, it's okay that there's no action going on. But then I rode with Officer Baird in the afternoon. It was a weekday afternoon, and he had this big gun in the back of his vehicle, and I kind of looked back and I said, I said, Jeff, I said, when's the last time you've used that bad boy? And he's like, I haven't had to use it. And then 30 minutes later, shots fired at 11th and whatever. And so he's rushing to it. We're rushing to it, and he throws on a bulletproof vest on me. And he's like, Mayor, you got to step back. And
Under your sport coat?
Over my sport coat. Yeah, and he's like, stay in the car. And so, and then I'm hearing confirmed, second shots fired. And so my mind is
Holy
just
shit.
racing, and what's going on. And then about 30 minutes later, he comes back, and I'm like, okay, what was it? He's like, well, the homeowner had a raccoon in his attic, and he was trying to shoot at it.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah. Takes all kinds, man.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And so my second really funny story, and people have heard this 1,000 times, but I was fortunate enough to get a meeting with President Trump, and it was the day of the government shutdown ending. If you remember that. And so
Yeah.
he had us out, first and foremost, in the Rose Garden. And so I could see, that was the one where he was talking about people from Mexico coming over the border. And I could see the teleprompter, and they were just rolling back, trying to find where he was talking. Of course, it was nowhere on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all
He's
thought,
not living.
there was no way that the president during all of this is going to meet with us, because it was 12 mayors. And but he was like, no, I definitely want to meet with you. I've got 35 minutes, and I got to reopen this government. And so, they do all the formalities, and there's certain protocols of doing that. And I was the smallest community, representing the smallest community there. So I'm thinking there's no way I'm gonna, even begin to talk to him. And then he's like, he does a few questions, and he's like, okay, he's like, I got a lot to do today, but I'll take one more question. And he looks right at me, and I'm thinking, this is my shot. I really got to do this. And so I say, Mr. President, Kyle Moore from Quincy, and I go over our story. Then I say, we could use 300 welders today. And he said, and this was, I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. And he said, Mayor, he goes, did you say you were from Illinois? And I said, yeah. He goes, Illinois, so cold, so high taxes. And, and he's like, I don't know how you're going to get people there. He's like, now the governor, I don't know about him yet. And then so we go and we banter all about, you know, and then in the end, he looks at me and goes, Illinois, so cold, so high taxes.
That's our tagline.
Now I got to reopen this government. And then he walks out, and I'm like, this was the greatest story ever. Yeah.
All right, so when he looked at you,
Yeah.
and the time the shots were fired in the cop car, which time were you most likely to need new slacks?
I would say the president, because
I was thinking the same thing, man.
You know, I was thinking to myself. So my grandpa was 98 when he passed, and I text messaged my dad afterwards. I'm like, there's no way my grandpa would think that his grandson would get an audience with the president of the United States, let alone have
that's
what's to say
incredible.
something.
Yeah.
And there were communities. There was Fort Worth. There were Mesa, Arizona. There were all these bigger communities, and here we were, Quincy, Illinois. And he looked at me. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to have this opportunity again.
Shoot your
And we were
shot,
we were in
boy.
the cabinet room, so it was really cool.
Well,
Yeah.
thank
So
you for not
cool.
getting shot, because that saved us from Mayor Mike Farha. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Right? Or shitting your pants, when getting asked a question, because that would definitely be a different tagline for Illinois.
You can have this statue of Litterby thing come up there, So
Beauty in the
yeah,
back.
Yeah,
Yes,
see,
yeah.
that's what I give everybody kudos who has the gumption to get up there and do that kind of. I would have froze. I would have literally just probably pissed myself at that time. I mean, we did go to the rally, and that was really, really cool. Thanks to MRN. I mean, David, Brittany, and I, we were like,
I didn't go to the rally. I was spending time with God, but you do you, boo.
hey, we were close to Trump, so.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I
light-
am not like a
Lightning.
Trumper. I'm
Dodge the
not.
lightning.
I'm not, but that I was too good to pass up. And I think David's writing something on the board. Hopefully
it's the
it's not-
president's quote.
Okay, cool.
So cold, so high
Yes.
taxes.
So-
Which I'm sure I'll get a response from the press secretary
Yes.
responding to that.
It's awesome.
Our average temperature is this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is cold, and it is high taxes. So there you go. He nailed it. So you're not from Quincy. Are you from?
I was born here, then I moved away to a town of Galesburg, Illinois.
Neighbors.
The rivals.
Yeah.
Our
I left that off my Mayoral material back in the day.
I remember you did that.
Did you
Didn't
call
talk
him on
about
it?
that. No.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we had, the funny thing was we had two, Mike Trope was like the first mayor, Quincy High graduate we had
Yeah.
in forever.
Really?
Mayor Spring was Alleman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
What
believe.
about Schultz?
Q&D, or
Q&D.
Christian Brothers.
Christian
at the time.
Brothers. Okay.
And Dave Nissen, Christian Brothers at the time.
Okay.
And then he was Galesburg. So it's like when Mike Trope was elected, yeah, it's like we haven't had a Quincy. And people like, well, I'm not sure where Meyer or whoever. Well, if it's Meyer, he probably went to Q&D.
Yeah.
Or Christian Brothers. But yeah, it'd been a long time since we actually had a mayor from QHS.
Yeah.
Until we have Mayor Ashley Conrad here in a few years.
Hey,
on our way.
It ain't happening. That's why I say I have a platform now. I can just
That's right.
I can just talk out of my ass, and nobody's gonna hate. Well, some people might hate on me, but I
No.
just don't read the comments. But
They'll find a way.
yeah. I figure if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So I think somebody said
Yes,
that.
I've
Somebody
been doing it right
famous.
for a long time.
See, I think I learned it from you. Anyway, so even though you're not from, or I mean you're from, but you have moved away, we all have our favorite like traditions in Quincy or
You're also a
festivals.
QU grad, too.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
You are
Yeah, QU grad.
fellow
Yeah.
QU.
Yeah, John Wood. So yeah.
And John, Blazers
See?
and Hawks.
Yes.
See, I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I knew I liked you.
There you go.
So Quincy, we're known for, of course, our parties, our church get-togethers, right? Booze fest,
Church
I like to call them.
picnics.
But there are festivals and there are traditions in Quincy. And do you have any faves? Do you have
Well, I always liked, back in the day, I always liked the Parrot Head concert that was just right here in Jail Alley.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons why we brought the street concert back. Frankie, Colin Ash and I,
Frankie. Hey,
after
Colin.
the 2015 175th anniversary, we're like, we need to bring that back.
That's fun.
And that's how the street concert got brought back, because it was just always so much fun. I just loved that. It was so good. And of course, a Quincy tradition that I always love. I love myself a good Sunday Fun Day. Always the New Year's
yeah.
the New Year's Day bar crawl tradition. It was always fun.
Oh, it runs
Yeah,
strong.
yeah,
Don't say
it-
was.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
it's a strong one.
Yeah.
I never did the early morning St. Pat's.
No 5:05?
I'm not a morning guy. That's not my deal.
not a morning.
Yeah,
You
not that
know-
early. No thanks.
You
So-
like parades?
Parades are fun. They're fun.
I mean, you're gonna start doing parades again. That's no
They're
fun.
fun if you're with me. And
Yeah.
so I hung out at the Taylors. They're on Main Street there, and they know how to parade day right.
Maury Taylor? Oh
No, but here's
Taylor's.
here's the tricky thing about parades. So the first parade I did, it was when I was as a candidate for mayor. I was talking to so many people that I was held back,
Oh, so
where
you were having to
my
run.
car finished so far ahead of me. And if you recall, people say just and they're like, Kyle Moore couldn't even be bothered to show up for this thing, and my friend Aaron Flory had to be on there. It's like, no, I was with him the entire time. He finished 2 hours after his car.
I had to put him on my back and run
exactly,
down
and
Main
get him
Street.
over there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, okay, so, and this is not dogging on Trope, but when he was in it, I don't know if he was uncomfortable or just was not trying to get held back. The difference between your presence at the parade and his was palpable. I was like, what?
Kyle's
Hello?
a really personable guy
I know.
and
Well,
outgoing.
we're not saying that
and
Trope
such.
isn't. I'm
Well,
just
he's
saying
not,
that.
I mean, he's not. I mean, Mike's not as outgoing as Kyle. I think that's
Okay.
a fair statement without being critical. Not Kyle's an outgoing guy.
Yeah, definitely.
sorry.
I mean, if you're
Good at
finishing
that.
the parade 2 hours after,
There you
there's
go.
definitely
There you go.
something there.
I mean, because I had to work for Can. I just no. I hate. I just no.
What? I just can't
Parades.
believe I love
Hate
parades.
parades.
So the parade doing it right is with wine. Okay, starting
Yeah,
early.
okay. If I'm walking down there like trying to help some candidate win a race, though, I can't be tanked.
No, I'm talking watching. You're
Okay, I
you're
don't even do that.
spectating.
I don't even do
Oh
that
my
either.
gosh.
But also that's where you get spoiled being in elected office. So I thought, Dogwood, I was like, my last one, I was like, man, I'm never going to be able to be position number 3 in a parade again
No.
because that thing would start at 10 and you're
Yeah.
done by 10:30.
That's
you know,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah. No, now it's
When
like
you're back there in like 138,
Yeah.
you're like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
and it starts pouring rain because
Yeah.
that seems to be like the common thing now on parade day.
Yeah,
But-
just get me to the scoreboard. So I just
Right?
want to get done with the parade, get the scoreboard.
But I do love parade day, and I think that's kind of one of my favorite
Yeah.
Quincy traditions. And it seems like one of the longest standing, right, outside of like Oktoberfest and stuff. But I think that's taken some
Dogwood-
changes and
Dogwood's-
iterations.
Dogwood's gone through some
Knights
changes.
of Columbus.
KC.
There we go.
KC, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are they coming back next year? The KFC?
It was here this year.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it come back next year?
Somebody said it wasn't. I was just
Don't
trying to
Well,
get
if
the
somebody
scoop.
said it,
It's got to be true.
Yeah.
Because
I
they're
definitely read it on the
their
internet.
Thursday, they're making so much money off their Thursday night drawing now. They don't have to do it. or
It
something
could
along those
be.
lines.
Listen, I'm not saying that.
I was there
my
that night.
source was
They did the draw. Were you there that night? I don't remember.
yes.
But
Yeah.
it's
Oh my
it's
God.
it's such a struggle with volunteers now, and I
Ugh.
feel for community groups
Brutal.
because to put on something like that, and everybody always would say like for when I was in office, they'd say you need to bring back the skydivers, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, well, that's great, but somebody has to take the lead
Yeah.
and then figure out who's going to do it. I mean, even the feast dinner, if it wasn't for a college sporting team
Yeah.
doing the cleanup. People just don't want to. They don't want to sign
They
up
don't
for that.
show
anymore.
up.
I mean, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that with service clubs these days, those guys and gals have to be the ones to step up and do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you look what the Quincy Service Club's doing, stepping up, taking over Little People's, and I mean, Rotary does a ton. They've got Oktoberfest coming up, so
Yeah.
those are the ones who have to do
It's,
it.
it's really tough, and like I said, I feel for. I could understand a group, and I'm not saying Knights of Columbus is going to do this, but if you took a less labor-intensive activity that made you even a little bit of less money,
hell yeah.
who wouldn't blame them? And then somebody's going to say, well, we need that event back, and then like you realize with the kart races, just the
Yeah.
cost to put that on, the insurance liability.
Oh, it was, yeah. And again, I was a
And
big
the
part of that.
effort. Oh my
I was
god.
a big part of that years ago and in the reincarnation, and it's a lot of fun, but it's so much work.
I think for people like us, because we are big tradition people, it's sad to see it go, but we still don't want to be like, well, hang on, let me throw my hat in the ring and
Well,
help,
and that's
it's
one of the reasons why we did the Bet on Q program, was so that way service organizations or new people would have money that they could tap into.
Yeah.
Up to $25,000, and that was that whole thing. It's like, okay, if somebody new is going to do something, they may not have the wherewithal monetarily to do it. Maybe they have the people. Well, here's a money aspect, or there may be, like I always would have conversations with Bruce Guthrie when he was with the district. Why don't we bring in a main act? Why don't we bring
Yeah.
in somebody big? And he would always say, well, Kyle, you have to understand this is a money-making venture for us. So if we bring in somebody that costs $30,000 or $40,000,
Yeah, you're
and
breaking
it
even,
rains
baby.
that day, I may lose that amount of money. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of how that Bet on Q program, was thought of.
Yeah, love it. I mean, I think it's great that we're kind of spreading the wealth.
No question about it. But again, and again, these events that we've had and again, I mean, that was another reason Exchange Club, now the Quincy Service Club, got out of Gus Macker. And let's do some other things and make a little less money. But the bottom line is, don't hate on people. If they decide, hey, we're just not going to do this anymore, I'm sorry. Okay, they've put in their time, they put in their service, they've done a great service for the community. Don't hate on them because they're not going to do it anymore.
Well, if you love it, show up.
Yeah,
and
or
not
if you want
just
to take it
showing up.
over. Or,
Be a part of the committee. Sign up for a slot. I mean, even if it's 2 hours, help out.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Anyway, so
I'm helping out at the
traditions are big.
community concert tomorrow night because I want to continue that tradition, and it's
Yeah.
just something that I've always believed in. So you gotta show up if you want things to continue.
I do fully believe in that. I also am such a hypocrite because I'm like this. I want it all, and I don't want to have to lift a finger. I'm just going to sit here and tell you guys what y'all need to do. My mom instilled that in me. She's like, listen, you guys take care of the work. No, I'm kidding. That's me being
Ashley's
funny.
mom going to put a mean Facebook comment
No.
on that.
No. She knows I'm right. But
What more fun questions
One
do you
more
have to
fun
ask her?
question.
One more
Well, I
fun
don't
question.
know whatever we have time for. But okay, so I thought this was really interesting. So we've talked a little bit about trope. We talked about you. We talked about your interpersonal communication skills, right? The differences in you two.
Which are helpful when you run for office.
Well, they are. I think you have to be willing not only to take
I've not
the
said a
heat-
word. Like,
Dirty
yeah,
look. Such a dirty
Me?
look.
I didn't give you a dirty look.
No, him.
Okay, I was like, no. Because I think you do have to have like a certain, forgive me, like almost an insanity to want to be in a political office, right? Like you have to be so steadfast and have this tenacity, and you have to know what you're getting into before you're there, because otherwise it's going to smack you in the face, right? And you're
Yes.
going to...
And that dissuades good people to run a lot of times, and we do need good people to run for these offices.
Right. So I guess
But if you think about just during my lifetime, the city of Quincy has had a number of different characters, if you want to call them characters as mayor, whether it
100%.
be C. David Nissen was young and he was, outgoing and having a lot of fun. Then you had Vern Hagstrom, probably, I don't know how
Grandpa
old.
Vern.
Yeah, I don't know
He was
how.
Grandpa
Yeah.
Vern.
And then
love that name.
then you had Chuck, who was, you've got this, outgoing historian guy. Then you had, John Spring, who was, so much a community man, but he was very much introverted if you
Sure.
compare him with Chuck. And you have me, and certainly Mayor Trope and I have different personalities. And so I think
Absolutely.
you always get this yin and yang. And if you think about even the presidency of the United States, I think goes back and forth on personalities.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you can kind of trace like you have this type of personality, and then the community or the nation reacts a different way.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you get Obama who's so scripted, and now you want Trump who's not scripted. And,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And
So-
everybody hates something about everybody.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
if you're not doing,
But
if
can
you're not
you-
getting hated.
Can you imagine, in our Ask MRN this week that David put together, we also reflected back on the term of Mayor Don Nicholson, who had 3 DUIs.
Was that before my time?
It was in the 70s, so yeah.
78.
Yeah. 3D.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? David and I had this discussion in the newsroom the other day. Can you imagine what if that had happened? And I'm not saying for any mayor in particular, but if that had happened to a mayor in the social media
Crucified.
internet age,
You'd be crucified.
Oh my God!
I mean, you're crucified anyway, but then to hold public office and to have that
3
happen.
DUIs, you probably deserve
Who was the
that.
guy on the Cardinals who got 3 DUIs and 4 or whatever?
Tony?
Was
Larissa?
one of the coaches. No, not Tony. It was the guy after him. Anyway, not important. So, talking about the different personalities / characters.
Yes.
Okay, I love how you put that.
Yeah.
What if you could pick one superpower for the next mayor, whether it's Trope, if he's going to run again,
Yeah.
or Bob or whoever else?
No.
You?
Okay,
No.
what superpower do you think would best behoove that person or position?
I'm gonna totally steal this from C. David Nissen.
Yeah,
So if you ever want to run for mayor and you sit in front of C. David Nissen, he's going to ask you the first question: what's your vision? And having a superpower of seeing into the future, what you want to accomplish is so important. So many times people get into government because they're against one side or the other. That's certainly understandable, but at the end of the day, after you actually take that seat, you have to know where you want to take things, and having a vision of where you want to go. And Nissen, I always look back at Ed Schneiderman was you touched this in your article. He was the mayor that died. I believe he was about 37, 38, maybe around there, in a fire in Chicago. And during his term, I think it was when we built the airport. We had the courthouse. So he had some vision. We used that economic development loan fund that I talked to you about a little bit ago. That was because C. David Nissen repurposed some money that was given to us after Motorola closed down, and we needed to retrain workers. And here, 40 years later, that money is still in our community being used to help create jobs. And so you really have to have a vision of where you want the community to go, and you have to be the cheerleader. You have to go around to all the service clubs and all the birthday parties, and you have to be the one that goes on Muddy River and talks to Brittany Bowl when you see her in a restaurant and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and be okay with it, and I think too, you and I talked about this one time after I was done. I said, I always felt like sometimes I would walk into rooms and I would feel a lot of love, and then other times I felt like people hated me, and you said, well, nobody ever hated you because they knew where you were at. Yeah. And I think that's what you need. You need to be able to have that vision, and then when you can pound that home to everybody that you see and you mean it, then you can really accomplish a lot for the community.
Damn, son. That was a fantastic answer. I was thinking
I'm not going there.
I was thinking like power of persuasion, so I can be like, vote how I want you to vote.
No,
and that's how small-minded I am. I'm
no.
like, listen, you're going to do what I say, and then I'm not going to move. You're just going to take care of it.
So
little mini.
is the street sketch? You said the concert scheduled for this weekend?
Yeah. So the
Friday night.
It's Friday night in Washington Park.
This is airing Friday morning.
Yeah. So Washington Park, the street concert is now in Washington Park because of the rain out that happened, and so it's the same band. It's a free
Blacktop South. Right?
Blacktop South. Okay. So go down
Great
there,
band.
support the district, support all your local vendors. It's going to be a great event because we want that to continue, and we don't want the board next year to say, you know what, we didn't make any money on that.
Yeah. Don't let it peter
It's
out.
only a 50% chance of rain.
I mean, what's a little rain?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the
This
show.
is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It was
Scott.
great.
I look forward to hearing from you in the not too distant future.
Oh.
Did we cut already?
We're not.
No.
No,
No, I was just kidding you. I was just joking.
No. We're waiting for you to confirm, and then we'll cut. No, I'm kidding.
See you, man.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.